welcome to the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe 10-year anniversary live streaming event. Joining me in our newly refurbished Skeptilair today are my partner in crime, Jay Novella.
Hey guys.
My other brother, Bob. Hey everybody. And Evan Bernstein.
Hello everyone.
So, this has been 10 years in the making. As you saw in our intro video, we've been doing a lot of things over the last 10 years, but primarily the SGU podcast. And it has been quite a ride, and we are here today to celebrate everything SGU. So, guys, I mean, 10 years, over 500 episodes.
Did it feel like 10 years? It didn't feel like 10 years to me, personally, which is a good sign, I think.
You think so?
That it went much faster than it seems.
I've got 5 years left of me, then I'm out. I'm done.
Really, Bob?
You're here first.
I mean, I feel like we all worked a lot during the past 10 years, but we enjoyed the work. That's why
of course.
It went by really fast. I have to mention, we started the podcast with Perry. Rebecca Watson joined us along the way. Was with us for 9 years, and we had just an incredible time working with Rebecca. And now on to new things. I am going to start this show by saying to you guys, why don't we actually right now discuss making a 5-year commitment, at the very least, 5 more years at SGU.
Jay, I'm in this indefinitely. I have no horizon. You know what I mean? I'll do this.
But I want to make a commitment. So Evan, will you do 5 more years at SGU?
5 more years, you got me.
Bob, will you definitely do 5 more years?
Barring what scenario do you think?
If you're breathing. If you're breathing, will you do the show?
What if we get a TV show that won't leave us time for this? Would we bail on the podcast?
All right, we'll do this or something better.
Okay, all right. I can commit to that.
It's a good qualifier.
All right, so we're in for a minimum of 5 more years.
What the hell are you doing? Hey! Who do you think you are?
Oh, I'm sorry. I figured this was loose, so I just thought.
Hi!
I just did a bit.
Live.
We are being joined by George Hrobb, our first guest for our 10-hour show.
Oh my God. George is no longer a guest.
He's still a guest.
He's a family member.
He's family. He is.
I'm a fest.
He's a fest.
George, leave the hoodie on. It looks good on you.
No,
Does it?
Oh, definitely.
That's good on you,
I'm going to file this right down there.
Circle file.
Gentlemen, 10 years.
George.
My gosh. That's all I got. We're almost done, right? We're almost
took a week to write that.
We're almost done, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it, George?
2 minutes
years.
now so far? Oh, the 8 years, yeah. 8
Your
years.
podcast, Geologic Podcast.
Yes, Geologic Podcast is 8 years, so it's nowhere near as old as you.
You're
I know.
almost exactly 100 epides behind.
Yeah.
Just about, yeah. Every time you guys have, I have something which I think is very exciting, and then a week later, you guys are like, no, we have 100 more. That's fine. 200, 300, 400.
I listen to every single one of your podcasts.
Stop it.
I don't really become a fan of many things in my life, to be honest with you. I am a huge fan of Star Wars.
Okay.
But I swear to God, it's Wednesday. I'm like, George, when are you putting this goddamn show up? I love your show.
Sorry.
Hey guys, let's get right into some content to start, and then we'll talk more about the production. I mean, this actually was quite a ride getting this streaming event going, and Jay and I will tell you about that in a moment. But let's start by just talking about something else. George, you said you have some.
Okay, I had one question for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the 10th anniversary. So now we fast forward to the 20th anniversary, and you're approached by a filmmaker, and he wants to make a movie of the story of the SGU. Who plays you guys?
George Clooney.
So he plays me, and then who plays you? Yeah. No, what actors would you want to play you guys in the story of the SGU, which is going to be this awesome biopic about how you guys saved the planet from Wu.
Based
What
on
actors?
a true story.
What actors would you want to play
It's
you
an
guys?
interesting question.
Ewan McGregor.
For you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See,
like
I was
him.
thinking like a younger Steve Martin.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if you can travel through time, I think that would work.
You don't play the banjo, though.
I don't play the banjo.
Evan's got to be
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
That was the easiest one.
Yeah,
but
that's the easy
How
one.
about Bob?
Johnny Depp, right?
A drunk Johnny Depp.
Who's the actor who plays Littlefinger on Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
you can play good pull off, Bob.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
I like him.
No, he's good.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He talks a little weird, but he's cool.
He's charismatic but evil, so that's a good
Yeah,
mix.
perfect.
Oh,
Perfect
hey.
fit.
Okay.
How about Christian Bale?
You're not going for the bit. You're just going for the thing.
Why? Because I like to dress up as Batman.
Actually, yeah. He's such a method guy that he could probably play you.
Well, who would you have in mind?
He's totally
For you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought this on the way up. I was just trying to think of all the sort of characters, okay, Perry. Who would play Perry? Who would be a good
Dom DeLuise. He's not around.
Yeah, but he's not with us anymore. No, it would be Robbie
Tim
Coltrane.
Farley.
Robbie Coltrane. The guy who plays
Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah, Robbie Coltrane.
All right. All right.
That's weird, though. Imagine that. Could you imagine that? Oh my God, that'd be so weird. Like what was the movie that just came out that had Hawking? The History of the World. Think about what it was like for him, or History of Time. What was the name of that movie?
Everything. Story of Everything.
The Stephen Hawking. Story of Everything. Right.
Not the Story of Everything. The History of Everything.
History of Everything.
But imagine him watching that movie.
YouTube. What's it called? What's it called? Someone comment. What's it called? What's the movie called? It's called History of Sal. What's it called? History of Everything. Everything is illuminated. The history of. What is the name?
What's a brief history of?
Well, that's the name of the book.
Everything is a book.
Brief History of Time is the book, but the movie
not
is
the
called.
Somebody knows that.
Sorry. Pants and other stories.
Check the chat room. Somebody on the chat room was
all right.
already
So
said it.
the bottom line is this will never happen. But but who would be the George Schwab guest, the SGU guest that comes on?
Kevin Spacey.
No, I got it. The Rock.
The Rock. Wayne Johnson.
Do you smell what the Rob is cooking?
Perfect.
A bald Rob Lowe.
I watched that film with Stephen Hawking, and
Apparently
the film was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay.
It was from the perspective of his ex-wife, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. But there's a sequence towards the end, sort of a spoiler, but there's a sequence towards the end where he's giving a lecture. He's in the wheelchair and he's giving a lecture, and he stands up, and a woman in the audience drops a pen, and he stands up and he picks up her pen and gets it for her, and he's imagining this sort of scene. And he looked so much like Stephen Hawking, and you so buy that he's Stephen Hawking for 1 second, like the animal, the primal part.
Yeah.
The primal part of the brain was like, oh my God, Steve Hawking just stood up. He just stood up. It's so you forget you're watching a movie.
You really suspended your disbelief.
He was so real in that film that you completely just bought it, and they were just for a nanosecond. You got excited of oh, they cured him. It's oh no, it's just a movie. Fine.
That actor did such a phenomenal job. Yeah. I mean, he really looked like he had a disability.
Did he win the award for that role?
He did.
I think he did.
Best actor. Yeah.
I can imagine it was very tiring to pull that off too.
Oh yeah. Anyway. Oh, okay. So I have this crazy book that I got for Christmas, which I thought would be really fun to just bring along. The book is called If, and it just has a gazillion questions in here that I'm thinking I can posit and we can debate. I'm just going to randomly try to find one. All right, here's a good one. If you could have any view in the world visible from your bed, what would it be?
Oh God, that's awesome.
If you could have any view visible from your bed, so every morning you open up the window and you see what?
Does this include through time?
Sure, why not?
Let's see.
All right, I have my answer.
The Rock.
Yes.
Morning.
Good morning.
He's the
So you remember at the end of Empire Strikes Back when Luke and Leia are looking out the spaceship thing and they're seeing a galaxy?
Yes.
I would want, but it'd have to actually visibly be spinning. So it wouldn't, but that would be cool.
Galaxyscape.
Galaxy.
That's definitely on the short list.
Galaxyscape.
Or at one point in time, the Mediterranean was dry.
Yeah.
At multiple points in time, and then where Gibraltar is, it broke open, and essentially the Atlantic Ocean poured into the Mediterranean. You had the biggest waterfall that we know of that the Earth ever saw. That would be a nice view, I would
So
imagine.
That's a nice view.
How long did that take for that to fill? How long
12
was
minutes.
that? Years. I mean,
It was decades, probably, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so you could.
And it happened multiple times, I think.
Okay, so you can have that for a good 8-year view of the thing.
Well, as long as we can go back in time, time's no issue here. The moon used to be much closer to the Earth.
Yeah.
Way back in the
15
proto-moon
times,
days,
15 times bigger than it appears now.
That would be a great
Yeah.
moonrise coming up over the horizon.
That would
That'd
be
wake
cool.
you up every morning, wouldn't it?
But you'd want to be awake to see it. You can't see it if you're sleeping.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to experience the tidal forces at that time.
So this is
That's
just the
true.
image. It's just the image.
the
There's
image.
you're safe from anything you're actually seeing.
What do you got,
Ruin it
Bob?
with tidal forces.
I would want to open the window, and I would want to see
A graveyard.
That's pretty good. No, but I would want to see exactly from the perspective of my bedroom what the Earth looked like 4 billion years ago.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I was thinking that too.
Wouldn't it just be woods?
Or just
4 billion?
100 million
Big
years ago.
molten-
Imagine having dinosaurs walking in front of your
Oh God,
that would be
really cool.
That would be cool
because
too.
it would be different every time.
Yeah, the Brontosaurus would be cool.
What do you got, George? What about you?
I mean, I was thinking like,
Birds.
Grand Canyon, birds. Birds would be nice. Grand Canyon would be nice. I wasn't thinking like through the reaches of space time. So like the crucifixion, that would be cool. To just sort of wake up every morning to see the no.
People do. They have a knife right over their bed.
Sick bastard.
Yeah, right there.
No, like I don't know. I mean, the glowworm cave thing would be kind of cool.
That was
that's
special.
something I dated,
That was
but,
special.
like maybe at night that could you could see that. It would be kind of cool.
All right, but I will say, in my life's experience, the most beautiful thing, the most beautiful vista I have ever seen is the Buboli Gardens at the Pitti Palace in Florence, Italy. You walk up to, they have a huge, this was like the last actual, the Medici family's last house that they owned. And think of 50 acres of meticulously crafted landscape with those beautiful long tall trees and everything. My wife and I stood there and literally looked at a landscape for like an hour. That's how gorgeous it was. It brought tears to my eyes. It was so gorgeous. So I think I'd rather see that
Rather than what?
than the galaxy.
No.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause you could go there and see. You could fly to Italy and see the gardens.
Well, you could go to Jurassic Park. I mean,
You could see the movie.
This summer.
We are
This
close
summer.
to like a big flat LED wall that you
Oh,
could
yeah.
have.
Oh,
any
you
of these
program
things
whatever
on.
the
It'd be
hell
like
you want.
Program whatever
wallpaper. The
Yeah.
wallpaper on your wall would be pretty much
You
display.
change it, rotate through.
What was it, in the original Total Recall?
Yeah, that's
They had
right,
That little
Total Recall.
roll-down
Yeah.
screen
Yeah.
that you could do that. Yeah. This is a good one. If you could eliminate one of your pet peeves, what would you get rid of? If you could
From
eliminate
existence?
Something that I wonder if it wouldn't bother you anymore.
oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe that's another question. Yeah, if you could eliminate it from the face of the planet, what would that be? Yeah, I think this asks, what could you change in yourself that thing that bugs you wouldn't bug you anymore?
All right, we'll answer it that way. But I like being bugged by things, so.
It's true, it's a driving engine sometimes of like being annoyed or frustrated or whatever.
What about confusing your and your?
Oh my God, Bob, you need to live more educated.
Oh, like just seeing
10
that
years,
drives you nuts. Yeah, misspellings. Yeah,
But that's misspellings, if that's what drives you crazy. With texting and autocorrect and everything, it's,
It's a pet peeve.
I'm sure I could come up with something better than this, but one of my growing things that I hate that annoys me a lot is the whole idea that everyone is like this on their phone all the time, at restaurants,
that
in
is
the
annoying.
movies. Sitting around even at my wife and I are now doing this thing. Like if we're sitting at the kitchen table with our son, no phones.
No. That's our house rule as well.
That should bother you, though. I wouldn't want to get rid of something that should bother you. I'm trying to think of something that I want to get rid of that should not bother me,
Right, it's a
but yet it still does. So
bother, yeah.
Okay, that's a good point.
It's actually hard to let me see, because everything that bothers me should bother me, right?
Well, but you could also look at it like it's causing you too much stress, so you just
Right.
rather dump it.
Right.
all right, here's one. People driving slowly in traffic.
Driving,
Yeah.
I was thinking about
Because
driving.
you should be able to just relax. You're not going to get there any faster, but it just feels
Wrong.
slow.
They're wrong.
And,
you know
yeah.
the rule: anyone that's driving faster than you
The speeding.
is a maniac, and anyone that's driving slower
is an idiot.
Is an idiot.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Right, because there are times where like I get stuck behind a car driving the speed limit, and I'm like, God, this feels so slow. It's so frustrating. But I realize, listen, I'm not going to get there any faster.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating because my instinct to go as fast as I want is being frustrated by that person in front of me.
Those short distance trips where you're only going less than 10 miles.
literally makes
it
no
makes
difference.
it makes like 10 seconds difference.
Yeah.
If you're going 45.
So if I
or
just
going
felt
20.
comfortable with people going slowly in front of me, I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Evan,
Well, sometimes
nothing?
if I've got a deadline and I'm working on 3 different tasks, like say at work, and each one is urgent, and I just don't have enough time to give it that it deserves, that's one of the few times in my life that my stress levels really spike, and I get really frustrated and anxious. If I can get rid of that feeling, that would be nice. It doesn't happen very often, but it's annoying.
You have a big pet peeve, George?
The spelling one is and again it's not spelling. I'm a horrible speller, so I make spelling mistakes. I never know if words need double letters or not. So like if there's 2 L's or 1, that to me I've never been able to.
I have a problem with that too. My instincts are always wrong about which one should be double.
Whenever there's like a full, like deceitful, is it like 2 L's? Is it 1 L? Is it are there 2 R's, 2 M's, 2? I'm always wrong. I'm always wrong. Yep. And whatever I do, the computer just will not tell me what the right. Doesn't that drive you crazy? There's some words, no matter how many times I try to memorize them, I never get them in my head. Right. There's just something I just cannot learn to spell a couple of words. But then there's times where I'm trying to spell a word, and depending on the spelling checker. And every permutation I try is wrong. Yeah. There's I can't get to the right permutation.
De minimis. I tried to do that with de minimis the other day. The thing would not recognize the word de minimis.
I don't even know what that is. But I'm not talking about the fact that it doesn't recognize the word because it's not in its thesaurus. It recognizes the word. I'm just so bad at spelling. I can't even get close enough.
It's not even wrong.
That's really bad.
Guys, I got it. I think I figured it out. Fucking USB connections.
Upside down. Putting it the wrong way?
I actually get it wrong more than you think it'd be 50-50, but
it's got to be 50%.
No, it isn't. I pay attention. I am wrong about 90% of the time.
It's got to be confirmation bias.
It's like I've never walked into a bathroom and turned the light on. It's always the fan. You walk into the bathroom.
Jay,
you never turn the light on.
Know your switches.
Jay, with the USB, worse than getting it wrong the first time, worse than that is when you get it wrong and you're like, oh crap. You turn it, and that's wrong too. The first time was right, and you just didn't.
Right, and so but they're fixing it the next standard
until it comes out.
Idiot-proof.
It's going to be reversible.
We'll see. We'll see.
Like the lightning connector already has.
Yeah, it'll plug in either way, but it'll shock you when you get it right.
Biofeedback. That's
all right. Let's do a news item.
Okay.
Let's do a news item.
I like these what ifs though. We'll come back.
We'll mix it up.
There's a whole book of them.
We have
left,
some movie reviews coming for you. We have topics of discussion. We have shenanigans of various sorts, and we also have news items and interviews. We're going to just try to intersperse them throughout the 10 hours. Sal, will you go to the computer image? So we're seeing the back of a young man. Oof. Do you guys? What do you think is going on in this?
It looks like livor mortis.
Looks like
he's alive. However,
well, it's definitely not.
It looks like he was beaten, doesn't it?
Looks like he was beaten.
I'm gonna.
Is it one of those like cupping massage things, like where they make a little vacuum on your back using like little suction cups?
Yeah, it's something like that, but that's not what it is.
Is it bruising from like poor nutrition?
It's abrasive therapy.
It's slapping therapy.
Oh, even better.
Oh God!
So
that's a thing. That's a thing.
So this guy paid for someone to slap in his back.
It gets much worse than that. So this is called PETA. This is part of traditional Chinese medicine.
Is it ancient?
Who knows? I mean, they just rewrite it, whatever.
God, it looks terrible.
Ancient Chinese.
This was done by a gentleman by the name of Hongqi Zhao. Slapping therapy, part of traditional Chinese medicine. So he was giving seminars. He was charging $1,800 for a 7-day workshop where he taught you how to slap yourself and beat yourself.
How do you slap yourself?
To what end?
You must use something. To what end? Of course.
To what end?
The purpose is to activate your qi. Right, so you hit yourself, and that sort of gets your chi moving. You're also slapping the toxins out of your skin.
Oh, of course.
Now it makes sense.
I masturbate the toxins out of myself.
Is that right?
Successfully?
That works every day.
Yeah, I have lots of
Twice on Sunday.
Yeah, you cheat all over.
There's cheese.
It's called cheat 'em.
Honey, there's chi in the sink, and there's chi.
You got a little bit of chi there.
There's chi all over your chi. The thing is, if you're expelling toxins out of you, it should feel good after you do it. There's, like these people are doing this.
They feel horrible.
Yeah.
They feel horrible, but that's part of the healing crisis.
Mm-hmm.
The healing. So if anything, this is like one of those. It's good. It's a heads I win, tails I win kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like on Full Metal Jacket, anyone who moves is a VC.
Yeah, anyone who
doesn't move is a well-disciplined VC. So if you feel good after the treatment, that's because the treatment's working. Right. And if you feel bad after the treatment, that's because the treatment's working. That's your healing crisis. That's the toxins coming out of you.
Now pay me.
Entirely.
So now pay me $1,800, but it gets worse than that. So Aidan Fenton of Sydney, Australia, a 7-year-old boy with type 1 diabetes. His parents thought it would be a good idea to take him to this clinic for slapping therapy. Now, it's not clear if he was actually treating his diabetes during the therapy or not. But in the middle of this therapy, it was like you go to a resort hotel and like you're at the hotel and you're getting the therapy during the day. His parents found him in his room, dead. The kid died.
What? From what?
We don't know. We don't know.
But he was at this retreat.
He was in the middle of getting this therapy. So
slapped to death.
He was slapped to death. So it's, he may not have been taking his insulin. He may, who knows if he was getting the right nutrition during this amount of time. He felt like crap, but that's the healing crisis. So he ignored signs of he wasn't doing well. He was so sick he literally died, and under the ministrations of this TCM quack. I mean, can you imagine? 7-year-old. That's child abuse.
Yeah,
completely.
Even if he didn't die,
completely,
it's child abuse.
Why is there such a pain? I mean, this is reminds me of the flagellation.
Yeah, that's right, self-flagellation.
They do
self-flagellation.
It's a Christian thing, a Catholic thing, and there's the Muslims that cut their heads with
That's right. They bleed.
And there's this weird line of pain being a celebratory,
being purifying.
Purifying through pain.
Well, I guess it's part of a penance or sacrifice type thing. I don't know.
Who's the first guy to sell that? That's whatever. No, it's a good thing. It's I mean, maybe it served some purpose initially of it's like a miserable existence, but it's good and you'll get through it and you'll be okay.
But it's sad to think that you have to teach people the idea that we've evolved over millions of years that pain is bad.
Right.
Pain's there to tell you something's wrong or whatever, but if you're doing something to heal yourself and it's painful, that's probably a bad sign.
Yeah, but the thing is, with modern medicine, right, we tell people all the time, it's going to hurt a little bit, but you got to get the injection, or the procedure's unpleasant.
No pain, no gain, right?
Well, there are times when we do, especially children, we have to convince them that there is some discomfort, some unpleasantness, sometimes even pain associated with a procedure or a diagnostic test or whatever, but it's for the good. So people are kind of already sort of used to that logic. And now here you have a healer telling these people this is going to hurt, but it's worth it. He's going to cure him his diabetes. And so the logic is the same. It's just that this is nonsense. This is magical nonsense.
The more it hurts, the more it's working.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know when I was doing hardcore CrossFit stuff, a day or two later, you're sore, and it hurts. But I would think,
I'm excited. It feels good. That's a good
I would get
pain.
up out of the chair like that, and Kira all the time be like, "You okay?" Like, no, it's good. It's good.
It's a good pain. It's a good pain. Yeah.
And it got to be this joke of I would just always be saying it's good because my mind was like, okay, this represents the effort I made 2 days ago in working out, running or whatever the heck.
But I like that sort of sore feeling.
No, absolutely.
Unpleasant.
But this is
even.
an extension of it in terms of.
But that's unpleasant. This gives you miserable.
But also, there's a little bit of evidence to say that exercise is beneficial and slapping is not, right? I mean, there's actual evidence. Here's just a quick thing. If you see these little dots, you see this?
Show this.
We are infested with ladybugs
Oh,
all over this house.
Well, it's not just this house, Bob. Most people in this part of the country have ladybugs.
Yes, we're in Connecticut. Every spring, we get an infestation of ladybugs.
Better those than stink bugs, because we have stink bugs.
Yeah, they're cute.
Ladybugs eat other bugs.
Yeah, so why are ladybugs not considered gross?
They're not pests.
They're
adorable.
They're actually beneficial for.
Is it because of their
plants
coloring?
and
And then is it true that the number of dots represent how old they are?
No.
That's a myth. Bob and I were talking about
They are
that.
adorable. I mean, how many adorable insects are there? Butterflies and ladybugs, right? I mean, what else?
Well, some caterpillars are pretty. The hairy ones are pretty.
Yeah, I guess so.
I've seen buckets of ladybugs, gardeners will sell them sometimes.
Yeah, because they're good for your garden.
And it's even a bucket of them is cute.
Yeah.
What other bug can you have a bucket of bugs?
They're basically cockroaches. I mean, but why are we repelled by cockroaches?
It's
look,
fascinating.
that's adorable.
It doesn't have antenae and tentacles
right, it's
and all
not
sorts
segmented.
of weird things
It
protruding.
round.
It
It's
looks like a Volkswagen
Yeah.
car. It's got round edges and everything.
And they don't bite.
Right.
Right? They don't bite
And
hard.
they taste pretty good.
If they bit, we would be killing that right now.
Yeah, you're right.
But then when they die, then there's hundreds of dead
Yeah,
ladybugs
hundreds.
in my house.
They're very bad at clearing their dead away.
Yeah.
They're very irresponsible about that.
Everything's better than a dung beetle, in my opinion.
Yes. Okay.
Taste-wise?
I'll give you that.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want one rolling a giant turd around my kitchen, right?
You want to do another one, George?
Another if?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
Yeah.
right. If you could read the mind of someone famous, whose mind would you read?
Alive? Let's say alive.
Let's say alive. Let's say
All
alive.
right, let's say alive.
Let's say you get 10 minutes in their brain.
Only 10 minutes?
And you can read their mind.
That's
What,
interesting.
10 minutes?
Yeah, I know, it's an important 10 minutes.
I guess you can kind of root around. You can kind of, it's like you can
I
kind
know.
of access there.
Okay, not just their surface thoughts at the
Not
moment.
the surface thought.
You
but
can
like,
actually
you
penetrate.
can root around and see
Right.
like what they really think about.
That's scary.
Oh, I know. That'd be easy. I mean, the President of the United States, imagine that the high-level, top-security things he's got in his head. That'd be kind of cool to find out the biggest secrets of our country.
Area 51.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not so much that, but there might be some interesting stuff there.
That is a good idea.
How about Vladimir Putin?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you don't speak
Yeah.
Russian, so you wouldn't know what he's thinking.
Can you understand their
I would
language?
think so, yeah, because it's just thought.
That's actually-
so it's like, what was that horrible film with Clint Eastwood where he has to think? Firefox, is that the movie?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
The movie was terrible.
He there's the Soviets make a plane. The
jet was cool.
Oh, yeah, the jet was cool.
Your brain works it, so he has to steal this plane, but he has to think in Russian, which is like you don't really think in that language. Like if you're, language is like a secondary thing.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
Anyway,
I mean-
so he thinks in Russian, and his Russian is horrible. It's
Yeah.
so bad. It's so funny. My dad and I was a kid, we watched it. We were just
Firefox. I forgot
guffawing
about
at
that.
how bad his
Thank
Russian
you.
was.
Thank
Like,
you.
this is the guy
Painful
who's going to steal
reminder.
this
Yeah.
$10 billion Soviet.
Fool them, yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
All right, I would want to read my 2-year-old son's mind. I think that would be fascinating to think,
that's interesting.
think about what his perception is. He has a very, his language skills are like he probably knows 100 words, maybe 150 words. But I just think it would be amazing to know, like, what does he think about me and my wife? And
it's like, here's that asshole.
yeah. Who's he love? Who's he not?
Will you stop picking me up?
Yeah.
Well, how about this then? If you're talking about a kid, how about something like your dog or
I
a
was just gonna
porpoise
say,
or a
a
monkey?
dog.
If you could even
Animals,
relate to
sure.
to their thoughts, that
Yeah.
would be illuminating.
I always
Yeah.
with my dog, it was always like, what are you really
Right.
thinking? Like, am I just, like, do you really
It's the
have an idea
food
what
person.
I am? Yes, the food person. Yes, the food's the sweaty food guy. Yeah.
What do you guys think about the idea that humans and dogs evolved, and that our relationship with canines had an effect on our evolution? Did you ever read about this?
On
recently?
our evolution?
On our evolution, they affected the way we evolved because they filled in gaps that we didn't have to address.
Wait, but we were essentially evolved as we are now back then, for all intents and purposes.
I read an article about it. I thought it was
We've
amazing.
been domesticating
Maybe
dogs
social
40,000
evolution.
years about? 40,000 years?
It's tens of thousands. I forget the exact number, but yeah.
Yeah, we were still Homo sapiens then. I mean, maybe social evolution potentially,
But dogs can
not-
do things like, and I wonder if this probably was some traits that we selectively bred into them. But like you could point somewhere, and a dog knows to focus its attention on what you're pointing at. And there's lots of things that
Not many animals do
human
that.
and dog interaction that that's there now. And I think it's amazing.
Hey, some guy in our chat room. By the way, we will be taking questions throughout the show. Hashtag SGU Live. So tweet hashtag SGU Live if you want to make a comment or if you want to ask a question. We'll be monitoring it. Somebody said, weird solution. I superglued a lentil onto my USB plug so I know which way is up.
Okay.
Nice.
We were all too dumb to think of that. Or you can get a marker, like put a dot on them, I guess.
You could.
How about you?
What fun is that?
I would like to go inside someone's mind like Dr. Oz
Yes.
or Oprah or someone and really see
If they really believe
if
the
they
bullshit.
really like what are they. I would bet that their motivations are pure.
Yeah.
But there's a certain cluelessness that's involved, and there's probably an egomania and a megalomania associated with it.
If that's the case, then therefore they're being entirely stubborn because there is information out there. They can learn about what is real versus what, and they refuse to do so. So shame on them.
Dr. Oz knows better. Oprah might not. But I think Dr. Oz knows exactly what he's doing. I mean, when
We don't know. But
when they were questioning, when was he being questioned recently? What was that?
Yeah,
Senate,
in
Senate,
front of the
last
Senate,
right?
summer. Senate.
I mean, he came out with legitimate science. He knows what's what.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, we can speculate endlessly about where along the spectrum they are, from true believer to absolute con artist. And there are some people that we pretty much know they're at the con artist end of the spectrum.
Right.
I think most of the people we talk about are somewhere in the middle, and we don't know where along the spectrum they are, but it doesn't matter, because whether or not you are just foregoing due diligence because you're a true believer or because you're cutting corners, you sort of believe, and you know what I mean? I do think that they are in that point where, like with Oz, I think he believes a lot of his own bullshit, but he also realizes he's short-circuiting the science. But he believes so much in the magic that he just tries to justify that in his own mind.
How can he ignore the criticism? Absolutely.
I think this is an epic
and say,
paycheck.
gee, doesn't he ever once say, "Wow, that's a really good point. I should change my mind about that"? Has he ever done that once?
I've never heard him do that publicly.
Guys, it's an epic paycheck for this guy. He just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Did you hear? Was it Oprah recently booted his radio? Was it a radio show
her channel,
from her network?
Yeah.
Why?
So I think because of all the negative press he's getting.
She's starting to feel that.
Well, maybe,
So that's-
you never know. Maybe his empire is beginning to crumble a little bit.
Oh, he's taken a big hit this year. Big hit the past 12 months.
So wait, Steve, quickly, what was his response to the taking away his medical license? Did you read that news article?
You know what his response was?
What?
His response was he was doing ad hominem attacks to the people who signed on to it.
Yeah,
he wasn't
so-
addressing
First
the
Amendment
issues.
right. Yeah. He has a First Amendment right to
Yeah.
say
Anyway,
what
they
he
didn't take away his license or even suggest that. What they were suggesting was that the university where he is like the assistant chairman.
Columbia.
Columbia of surgery. They wanted him to essentially be booted from the university.
Yeah.
The university said it's academic freedom. We don't, but it's all good.
That was a bullshit answer.
He portrayed it as this is an attack on for my First Amendment freedom of speech.
No,
And
not at all.
these people are all industry shills. That was essentially.
All right.
Well, check out John Oliver. What John Oliver did on his show.
He eviscerated
great.
him.
You told him I didn't
I got to watch
Really
that.
good.
John Oliver, yeah.
Would none of you guys want to be inside your wife's mind?
Oh God, no.
I thought about that when you mentioned it, and
My ex-wife would have some seriously
Just to really,
nasty stuff.
just to see what they really think.
No,
What they really think.
I'm lucky enough to have such an intimate relationship with my wife that she would very honestly answer pretty much
you're
anything.
fooling
Tell you
Really?
Steve,
You
believe
think your
me.
relationship is such
Wait,
that
but
there's no.
I know that's
Like
happening
100%?
because
There's no filter. There's got to be a
There's gotta be a
filter.
filter.
There's filters, of course, but bottom
minimal.
line is,
They're minimal.
if she's filtering the truth that she's telling me, I'm horrified. Because she tells me
All right, you need
anything
denial.
and
You need
everything.
denial. Okay, I got you.
Is this recent? I
You're
can't
on
wait.
there.
I
Oh,
can't
here
wait
we
to
go.
watch it.
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
writing for Oliver? I'm sure he's involved somehow, but he has numerous segments on his show, and every time I'm watching, I'm like, he nailed that. He
It's great.
completely and utterly nailed it, and in the best possible way, because not only does he have tons of facts, but he's hilarious. The guy is just so
Yeah.
funny. I think that's the best combination for getting our particular kind of message
Oh,
across. If we could do
John
that-
Oliver. So this week tonight, last week tonight,
last
Oh, I
is
love it.
hitting it out of the park.
Yeah, he's the best now.
The fact that his show wasn't a Daily Show clone was so smart. That he can do
Yes.
20 minutes
Thank
on
you.
one
Thank you,
subject.
yes.
Well, he has a little bit of short
bit of
burst
news, and
that
then
he does.
one
the
big
main
topic,
stuff.
and
It's great.
He's fearless.
nails it.
Yep.
He's fearless. Like
I mean, he like defended the IRS, saying like, "Hey,
Yes.
these are hardworking people,"
And it made
And it made
sense.
total sense.
Right?
I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. It's awesome. And then Michael Bolton came out and sang. So like, what else do you
right.
want? Yeah,
He did?
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
great.
that's a shame.
And it was one of his big
Sorry.
songs, but with
I'm
IRS
old.
lyrics.
Oh.
George, I want to
I'm
ask
Michael
you
Bolton.
some intimate questions.
Okay. Should we
So-
go outside for a second? Oh,
Can I watch?
Just leave the mics
Well,
on.
I've heard you tell the story many times of how you kind of fell into coming to TAM and fell into the skeptical community, and you felt kind of like, you had like a quickie backdoor entry, like one day, like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, I got invited to do this gig. I'm not a geologist, but I'll talk about geology.
Yeah,
right? But now, 10 years later, 9 years later,
Yeah, it's
you're fully into the community. You're a very important member of the community. First off, did you consider yourself a quote-unquote skeptic before this happened? Did you become a
Oh, yeah.
skeptic because of your influence or involvement in the community?
No. It was out of college. I read Why People Believe Weird Things.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the first time I saw that term.
Great book.
Yep.
Very
And,
good book.
and that kind of a thing of like, this is a system for approaching claims.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, and I only read that book because I remember being in Barnes & Noble, and on the back, like Penn and Teller, like they had a little blurb
yeah.
saying like, oh, this is a great book, you should check it out. And that was like the only reason I read it.
Yeah.
Because I was like hugely into Penn and Teller at the time. And sort of like, oh, this is a thing. Like
It
this
clicked.
it totally clicked.
Yeah.
And then whatever, 8 years later, when it really clicked, realizing there's like skepticality was when Slough, my friend, said, podcasting.
Yeah.
This is something you should. This is the future.
Oh,
He said
it was
that.
Slough that
It's total
said it.
Slough.
Wow.
Slough's my visually impaired friend, so he was like on board podcasting.
Oh, sure.
At the
Oh,
very
yeah.
beginning,
Very
because that
cool.
was all of his entertainment.
Yeah.
And he said, much like plastics from
graduate.
Except you couldn't invest in podcasting.
Yeah, no. He said, "I got one word for you." And he said, "Podcasting." And I was like, "What is that?" He's like, "Well, it's like an audio magazine, and there's these two people down south. They do this thing called Skepticality. You should check it out." I was like, "Okay," and I had to figure out how to download it and didn't know what was going on.
It was weird in the beginning.
Yeah, and then I sent them sent them stuff. I sent them all the CDs I had done up to that point, and they got in touch and they were like, "Do you want to be interviewed?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I had to drive to Queens from Bethlehem because Slough had Skype, and like no one else had Skype at the time. He had Skype very early on.
Couldn't just download Skype.
I couldn't. I couldn't for whatever reason. I was like, so I went. I was like, this is gonna be easier. I'll just take a 90-minute drive. I'd rather just do that. I know it's going to work in his place because he's all hooked up. This is, 2000.
I remember when we just started, we didn't know what we were going to use. Skype wasn't there yet. We were looking at
other... Skype for our games.
Yeah, we did.
We started using it in 2004.
We tried a couple of different...
But we tried a lot of different things right around that time.
We did, there were a few others. But Skype was just emerging.
We were just settling into Skype, yeah.
So, but you're much larger nerds than I am. So for me...
So you listened to... So then you went and listened to a podcast.
I burned it onto a CD, and put it in the car and listened to it and dug it. Sent them the stuff. They got in touch. CDs. Did this interview. And
what does that mean? Burning on a CD?
Yeah, I know.
What is that?
He burned it onto a CD and then he
took fire.
I put it on my play thing.
You mentioned Skepticality, though. I'll just put a plug in. So Derek of Skepticality just interviewed me for the show that went up, I think, last week. Because it's their 10-year anniversary, too.
That's right.
They started right around the same time we did.
Derek actually was podcasting before podcasting existed. He was putting up his own audio before it was a thing. He was recording shows and putting up audio.
Right.
All right, so anyway, you listen to Skepticality, and then is that when you were like, whoa, I got to do this? Like, how did that happen?
There was never a whoa. It was just like, I could send them some stuff. They'll probably ignore it. And they didn't. And then it's like, that has been my existence. Like, I could send something and maybe they'll do
So they played a bit that you made?
No, I think they played a song.
Okay.
And then they interviewed me. They said, come on and talk about these tunes, And I was like, okay.
Cool.
And then, I wrote them a letter, like a handwritten letter with a package of stuff. And then it just took off from there. And every time it's just kind of been like, oh, okay, I'll try this. I don't know. Oh, okay, I'll try this.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I keep, like you said, I keep just falling into stuff. I did the geology lecture, which then Jeff Wagg saw, which said, we're doing this thing at TAM. Do you want to come perform at TAM? I'm like, okay. And then, the guy that was the MC retired, and they were like, do you want to be the MC? I'm like, okay. So it's never been this concerted of like, ooh, here is a market.
So it wasn't an ambition, it just opportunities presented itself.
No, I never thought like writing, I wrote the song Skeptic just because I wanted to write the song Skeptic. So it was like, oh, this will be cool, this will be fun. Never, ever, ever was there an intention of like, oh, this will get me into a community which might be interested in what I'm doing. Like I knew I wanted to make songs and stuff, and then the podcast was the same deal. It was like, let me just do this. I'll do like a year, maybe. I'll do 50 shows and then see what happens.
It changed your life.
100%.
Same with us. Like I got to tell you guys, like I think, we were always busy doing stuff, and we were always skeptical activists, for the bulk of our adult lives.
Right.
But when the podcasting thing happened, it was a life changer. Like
we realized early on how significant it was going to be in the sense of the outreach, because we were so used to dealing with a local membership that's a couple hundred strong, which for local memberships of skeptics groups is actually pretty good. But then we saw what this could really be and how we could reach out to not hundreds but thousands, tens of thousands, and we even mentioned in that first year our goal was 100,000 listeners, and we were thinking like, oh my gosh, really? But that
when was
really,
that? Yeah, did that happen that first year?
Well,
how long did it take?
Well, let me show you something.
Ooh.
I have
Segway.
Not the first year. I don't think.
No.
Well, but if you think about it,
okay. So here is
episode 2.
By the way, our Skeptilair is entirely run by our artificially intelligent Sal 9000. So you may occasionally hear me give instructions to Sal. So Sal, will you please bring up?
So what are we looking at?
Sal rocks.
So here is a graphic of SGU listeners per year, starting in 2005 and leading up to right now. Just checking the stats. So the way,
what is this?
There's no one way to calculate your audience in podcasting. Wow. You can count the total number of downloads per week, for example, and say that that's your audience.
That's not accurate.
So that's not what the numbers I'm showing. You could also count the number of downloads that each episode is getting. Yeah. So that's
unique
what I'm counting.
Downloads are pretty good.
Unique downloads per episode. That's what I'm counting here. So you can see we started, by the end of the first year, we were at 1,000. We pretty much broke 1,000 right around our 1-year anniversary.
Which was exciting, right? Because we had, before that, we had a newsletter. We had 300 members, like 300. So to go from 300 to 1,000,
that was psychologically, that was huge.
Ivo Terra told me, like, years ago when I first started, he sort of said, like, if you have 300 listeners to your podcast, like, you think that's a horrible thing. But imagine if every week you had a room, a gig, and 300 to 500 people came. Like, you would be thrilled if every week
absolutely.
you got that. I was like, totally changed the way I thought about it.
Yeah. Then I remember, like, by that summer, we had Randy on the show. We jumped up to 5,000.
Yeah,
and by 2 years, we were at 16,000.
Yeah, that was very exciting.
And you can see it go from there. Right now, we're right around 160 to 170,000 unique downloads of each episode each week. But of course, we get about 2 to 3 times that many total downloads because that includes people downloading older episodes. Right. Now, if you just count all time, how many times has the SGU been downloaded? We broke 60 million.
That's crazy.
60 million.
How can that possibly be the truth? That is so mind-blowing.
60 million times.
That is awesome.
And George, back to your idea about the room filled with 300 people. I've thought of that, and occasionally I'll think about, we've got, 150,000 unique downloads a week. I think of like a baseball stadium filled, and I can't even think about that for long. It's too intimidating. I can't even think of that because I'll just be like paralyzed.
Because I got to say, like, when we're sitting on this end of the microphone, like, to me, it's always we're just getting together as friends and family, doing the thing that we love to do.
That we did before podcasting.
Yeah, it's just talking. Like
we did.
Even though it's on rails, like we're talking about these news items or whatever, like, this dialogue has been going on for so long. And I that's the thing. I was interviewed recently, I forget who I was talking to, I think it might have been Sheldon Helms. And
Sheldon.
I told him, though, I said, that, the way that we interact with each other is so familial to me. It's like, this is, you guys are my family. That's why I say I want to do a 5-year commitment. I just couldn't imagine if we didn't do this.
Yeah. I mean, we're approaching 20 years of being Skeptical Activists.
Yeah, what is this, Steve?
Oh, that's great.
That's people on.
So if you go back to the computer, you see the rotating globe. It's also on the console behind me. So that is a live. Basically, it's showing everyone who's accessing our stream from our website. So
I can see my house from here.
So you can see, we're getting listeners from all over the world.
Somebody is in Cartago.
Mostly the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be English-speaking countries, but we're all over the place. A lot of Australia's coming.
Look at that.
Yeah, we can. I think I can rotate it. There you go.
Whoa!
Antarctica? No.
There's a penguin listening to us.
Where? Nobody in
Antarctica. In Sydney?
No.
How cool is that?
Come on, guys, get on that.
What a great graphic this is.
We did have one listener email us from Antarctica. So all 7 continents.
Yes,
because we got Antarctica.
Is there one person in Hawaii? Look,
that's great.
That's really cool.
Pull up the moon. Let's see if
guys, let's humble ourselves real quick to how amazing technology is. Like, check out what we're looking at right now.
Yeah,
we always take it for granted. Like, of course, no. Look at this.
This wasn't possible 10 years ago.
No, but it's not 3D rotating right here. I mean, that's what I want to see.
You want Admiral Akbar pointing at her at some point to say it's a trap. Yeah,
it's a trap.
Very cool.
What was so when you started this thing, what was your plan? Did you have a goal? Did you have an idea of like
the idea was
get rich.
So we were
how's that working? Yeah.
Looking for a way to generate a lot of content.
Yeah.
And we're transitioning to online as much as possible. So we've been putting out a paper newsletter, mailing it to 200 people. And it was a lot of work.
That was annoying.
The articles, we tried to put a lot of time into those articles, and sometimes they got some, repeats. They got reprinted.
Weeks. Mm-hmm. We had to do weeks crafting an article.
But it was, it was 4 times a year to 200 people. That was our impact.
Right.
So imagine that. We did that for 9 years or whatever, 9 years. But it was good. That was a good sort of.
Why did you start that?
Learning. That was just running the New England Skeptical Society.
Yeah, just running our
skeptical
our publication. I love the name of the publication, New England Journal of Skepticism, which was really cool.
To me. So, but then the social media was hitting, and we're like, we should just start publishing our stuff online.
But come on, but honestly,
and then we
didn't know what the hell we were doing.
No, of course
we had
not.
No idea what was going to happen.
But just to give you the history of it, 2 times Perry and I wrote a radio show because we figured that would be good content for us because we have lively conversations.
Right.
We figured we could handle it. We could do a radio show, and it would be an easy way. I thought because writing, and publishing is more involving. So then I know I've told this story before. Our friend Shane came and said,
It's
"Hey,
the Skeptic Radio Hour with your three hosts, Stephen Perry.
What are you thinking?
Brought to you by Bubble Bath.
He said, "Hey guys, have you heard about this podcasting thing?" I'm like, no, we've never heard about it. It's like, oh yeah, it's like a radio show, but you just upload it to the internet. Yeah. So we should we would get into these political talks that were fun. So we should just record our political talks and post it as a podcast.
It was fun.
I'm like, that's a great idea. Except we're going to do skepticism, and you're not involved.
Thank you for the idea. Come again.
But thanks for the idea. Yeah. Yeah, but he does get mentioned every now and then when I give the history.
Yes, he does.
So then we took our notes from our failed attempts at writing.
Shane Brown.
Shane Brown.
His name was like Fred Guide.
No.
So we took our notes from like our
You totally stole his idea. I love it.
Failed attempt was podcasting. That was his idea. Let's start a
didn't
podcast.
Steal it. He said, "Here's an idea." We graciously took it and gave him the stiff arm, like in football. Yeah.
And the other thing is, the timing was perfect because we were playing City of Heroes online. Like every Wednesday night.
Best game ever.
We would play City of Heroes. It was a lot of fun.
I miss that game.
I do.
I miss that damn game.
But it just, we played for years, and the game just fell apart.
All right, what is City of Heroes?
It's a multiplayer online game where you make a hero character or villain. They came out with City of Villains.
Okay.
And pretty unlimited. I mean, you could,
craft your own
character really well. It's best character generation, I think, still of any game that I've personally played.
Even to this day, it's still among
we've
the
been
best.
looking.
We've been looking.
You can really
a lot of
capes,
amazing ability to do
a lot of options for your powers, and the gameplay was great. You go out, you either alone or in groups, and you go on missions.
They have
like role playing, but with a
But it's not role playing.
MMOs have like a thing where you go and you talk to the guy, and the guy says, "Hey, I need someone to go do this," and you're like, and you're like, "Okay, well,
grab your superhero friends and let's go save
then you go to some
building.
location on all of the maps. They tell you where to go, and then you go into a door. And then as soon as you go into that door, like this is how it works with a lot of MMOs. Now you're in like your own separate little part. That's your dungeon / mission, and you go in and you got to kill.
This is all
computer generated.
So like
then you go in and you kill the guys, and you find 20 of these.
And the environments are cool. They didn't
very cool.
The graphics were wonderful.
The really cool thing for me though was how you can get around, because I've done World of Warcraft and all those, and you're pretty much relegated to the ground, running on a steed. Yeah. But for superheroes, City of Heroes, you're a superhero, so you could choose to fly. And of course, I love that because you could essentially fly anywhere. And I just love that bird's eye perspective on these cities. I would go and fly to the tallest building and stand on top of it and look around. It was just beautiful. And I just love flying. Come on, who doesn't want to fly?
We stopped playing on Wednesday night.
Yeah. But had that time.
And this was right around the same idea. Shane said, put the podcasting idea into my head. I said, no, what we'll do is on Wednesday night, instead of playing, we'll record a podcast. And we did.
Yes,
so we converted our gaming night into our podcasting night, and then that was 10 years ago.
What were your character names in City of Heroes?
Oh, we had multiple.
Oh gosh,
you had
so
multiple,
many.
multiple characters. So
I created one that looked like Jesus. I called him Jesus F. Christ, and they yanked the name from me after about a year, saying it was defamatory.
You actually had a couple of names taken down. I thought, wasn't that true?
That was that was the only one. That was the
Perry had the best name. Perry's one of his characters was Mid of Night. He was just like a completely black character. And then the other one was
Time's Up Buddy.
Time's Up Buddy. He was a mobster.
He had
the dwarf. What about the dwarf? Oh, that was City of Villains.
He had an Indian who was an archer. He called him Heap Big Bow, and that was the one they yanked.
They said
you can't have that.
A little cultural insensitivity.
Big Bow. A little too, close to the mark. That was
where you found
Perry was not politically correct.
Yeah, so we found. We had Skype with that. Then we started to do the podcast, and we were. What we had.
I just wrote
pretty
it. Really prescient planning.
Yeah.
Once you started,
we just wanted to make content. Like this is a way of cranking out weekly content for the society.
And you thought we'll do this until something better comes along.
Yeah, pretty much. We wanted to try it out, and then we found out that we liked doing it because it was a start banter.
It took on a life of its own.
Yeah,
it took on a life of its own. Yeah, it just became its own thing.
Don't most successful things work out that way? It's never like the plan.
Organic components to it.
It's always just I'm just fascinated with this device, and now all of a sudden you saw
what we had really going for us, our biggest asset that we'd run prior to that. We had so much information, data, stories, and everything. We came in with so much material. Yeah. It really was a very easy transition for us in that regard. Yeah. There was no wanting for things to happen.
Hey, in 10 minutes, we're going to have our first Skype interview. Eugenie Scott is waiting, so we'll bring her in 10 minutes, right on the hour.
I would like to ask, are the people watching though, could you, if the quality is good and everything, let us know. We just want to make sure everything is working appropriately, sound is good and all that.
Especially from the nether reaches of the planet, in
give us some
India and
they were saying that
other places.
Was a little low. I don't know if South
well, the reason why we bring this up is the original 24-hour show. We were riddled with technical difficulties, and Steve and all, we all just promised each other we are going to overachieve with quality on this one. So we've been working on this for 3 months.
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
This is really hard. We could talk about this for 10 minutes before we bring on Jeannie. So
don't try this at home.
I think the thing is, if you're going to stream a webcam to the internet, that's easy. That's simple, right? If you want to set up a webcam, you just connect to an encoder, you stream it on YouTube or whatever. That's actually not that hard. But once you want to be able to switch among multiple cameras and a computer, and Skype people in and have the audio,
multiple audio.
Then that made it 100 times more complicated, not just a little bit more complicated. And so we've been
2 orders of magnitude.
And we actually have people who know what they're doing helping us do this, and you'll get to meet them later on. We're not doing this on our own. We got expert technical help to help us do that, and we've had to try multiple iterations of different permutations and pieces of equipment, and then last night, it's like this is I think sums up the whole thing. Last night, it's 11 o'clock at night.
We were supposed to get a delivery at 10. I paid to get a delivery at 10 a.m. yesterday. Didn't come. We had to go pick it up at 7:30 p.m.
So that's why we lost it. But anyway,
what toppings did you have on it?
Yeah,
mushrooms.
We had this down converter that we were going to use to help make everything work together. And
I should have one.
I'm reading the technical manual, the user manual, right? Using the user manual, and Jay's standing by the piece of equipment telling me, all right, Steve, tell me what I need to do. And I'm reading it, and at one point Jay says, Steve, you're not talking to me. What's going on? I'm like, Jay, this is completely incomprehensible. What's the matter?
We got feedback. They're saying they're hearing mic noise. I'm going to fix it.
Okay. You hear that? So the equipment is not really meant for the consumer. It's not really consumer level. It's like they assume that you are a tech guru in their user manual. Like the user manual is written for a tech
professional
audio engineer. So
like Beetlejuice, the guidebook, the help book for the dead. It's like this reads like stereo instructions.
And it's worse if you get Japanese products. It's a Japanese to English translation, which doesn't always come out well.
But
so
it was
that's
just
worse.
I couldn't even figure out what the hell was going on. But anyway,
we had 5 smart people in the room, and not one of us could figure out how to use the equipment.
We did eventually get everything working. But it really was a struggle right up until the very last to get this technically functioning.
What happened at the 24-hour show? Or the beginning was multiple.
Steve, we're going to swap your mic out.
Okay.
Stand up.
Jay, why don't you tell them what happened during the 24-hour show where they fixed my mic?
Well, what happened as far as the technology mishaps and everything? I mean,
just because I remember at the beginning, it was like there was like you had that awesome intro, you had that awesome video intro, and then it
all right. So the internet, our internet provider at the time, our internet provider was throttling us back. So we after right from the beginning, we just didn't have the internet connection. It didn't work. Flat out, it wasn't working at one point. Then
they will do that. They'll just decide, you're using up too much bandwidth. Let's just throttle them.
Oh, okay. That's what it's called, throttling.
Yeah.
That's where they just cut your bandwidth.
Yeah.
And then, you getting his audio? Okay.
That's like the slapping.
So then, we just thought that it was going to be a lot easier, and we had people helping us, and anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Couldn't hear the people over Skype, which we're about to do for the first time on the show, but we really didn't know how technologically challenging it was going to be. And everything did go wrong, and it was very difficult. But we still did the show, and we came through as we promised. But that was not going to happen again. We were like, no, we're going to.
This time we wanted to make sure that, because last time it was like, let them do their job. We'll worry about content. We'll let them worry about the technical aspects of it, and then it was, one notch short of an utter failure.
The TAM audio people, were they helping you?
I was going to make a joke about that.
So this time we're like, I'm going to wrap my head around every connection in the technical equipment to I understand how everything works, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Jay and I we spent 3 months making sure that this will work. So hopefully, so far so good, except for obviously there's going to be Mike and other technical little situations. But I mean, it looks like it's working. But we're about to do 5 minutes. We're going to do the first Skype interview. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Exciting.
See how that goes.
Yeah.
You ever done a live streaming event?
Technology never fails.
I haven't. I've been to the 24 with you guys.
Yeah.
Which had me thinking. I wonder if I could do like a 12-hour solo.
Yeah.
Thing.
12
I
hours
don't know, like
solo.
just do like songs and stories and whatever.
Well, George, seriously, like we built a studio. This is our new studio. So
which is beautiful, by the way. My goodness.
Thank you.
Yeah, that alone was a huge deal.
Well, part of the reason why I wanted to do this, I mean, the 10-year anniversary was a good idea, but I'm also thinking this is a goal that will get our studio built and equipped, and then once that's up and running, then we could do this all the time, and shoot video. And so this is not just for this one-off event. This was
not at all.
The event was an excuse to get this, to get this up and running.
This is now permanently the Skeptilair.
This is our studio. These are our studios.
Yeah, so
SGU studios.
we were thinking about doing some type of live streaming event, maybe quarterly. Probably not a 10-hour show.
No, like a 2 or 3 hour thing.
thing.
Instead of a show, we do it live, and we do it, with video.
And people that help us behind the scenes, a couple of which you'll meet later in the show. We have great ideas how to use the studio and how to make more content and everything. So that's coming. Yeah, this room exists for a reason now.
So all the cameras and everything, this is like all your gear?
Well, almost everything. There is one camera in this room that costs actually more than the renovation of this basement. And that's a Red Scarlet camera. That's owned by my film mentor, Phil Hudson. Owns a Red Scarlet. And the camera, when you buy the camera body and then you buy the lenses and the other accoutrement, you're about 30,000 in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, and that camera.
So I shouldn't bang into that with my guitar case.
That camera right there. That's the camera.
No.
Yeah.
As it slowly just pans down and falls.
It'll be fine.
Okay. Why don't we go to our interview? We'll see how that works.
Do we need to get around you, Steve, so she can see us all? She can be able to see us.
You might want to come in a little bit.
All right, yeah.
Put
moving
in.
Put your earbuds in.
It's ringing.
Hi, I'm so sorry, guys. I was watching, but the little blue S didn't flicker. I apologize, but I'm here. Hi.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
You guys hanging in there okay?
Yeah.
Marathon?
We're just getting started.
We're an hour in.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we're good. Can you hear us okay?
Well, then you're nice and fresh. I can
fresh.
hear you well, thanks.
Good. George Schwab is with us. You can see him on the edge over there.
Hello.
Greetings. Good to see you again.
Likewise. Can you talk for the next 9 hours now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go, it's all yours. Go for it.
Keep that in mind. I'm going to shut something down just to save all the possible energy I can on this little number. No guarantees. I'm sitting as close to my modem as possible, but...
Bandwidth is at a premium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, nobody's flickering, and you all look nice and sharp, but you always look sharp. Except that guy in the end.
Yeah. Dr. Troublemaker.
So, I was looking at it. You were wondering, we were talking the other day, Stephen, about what to talk about.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, obviously there's your 10th anniversary, Kitzmiller 10th anniversary, that's a hook. There is a new Science and Society survey that the Pew has come up with in January, which is kind of cool because it contrasts what the general public looks at science and what scientists think. And there's places where they're really right together, and there's other areas where scientists and members of the public are really far apart.
Right.
So that's kind of fun stuff.
That's
a possibility.
Why don't we talk
too.
about Kitzmiller to start with?
Sure.
That was right at the beginning of our podcast,
Yeah.
and that was one of the big topics that we talked about in the first year of our show, because it was a showdown, between
Yeah, well.
the creationists, intelligent design, intelligent design proponentists, or whatever, the fusion of creationists and intelligent design proponents. And just so everyone knows who you are, I'm sure they do, you are now the former president of...
executive director.
Executive director. Why don't you tell us your full title?
Well, all right. I don't have a title. I'm retired. But the former executive director of the National Center for Science Education. But current president of Bay Area Skeptics, if you want to add that.
Absolutely. That's even more important. Skeptical.